All praise to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And this video will be entitled Hebrew Israelites, Ungrateful and Entitled. Ungrateful and entitled are a lot of you Hebrew Israelites out here, especially you that come and you ask us questions and we answer the questions and then you turn into a damn accusatory, entitled, undisciplined, ungrateful little bitch. Okay, so the story goes like this. There was an individual that asked a question the other day on the comment board. I did this video in response to the question. The video was entitled Flee Babylon and the 400 Years Doctrine are Going Off. All right, and you know, those of you that saw it, was a live stream. It was an hour 19 minutes long. And basically, you know, in the beginning of the video, you know, I basically well, you know, we make videos how we make them. And I'm not one of the people that I'm not gonna be extra nice. I mean, I wouldn't be extra harsh either, but I was speaking very candidly and straight to the point. All right, I wasn't pulling punches, but at the same time, I wasn't overly harsh nor abusive. And you know, and if I do say so myself, the video came out really good. It was a lot of edification. Brothers was flowing in the spirit, posting a lot of scriptures. But the individual that asked the question, we're gonna read his responses. You know, he got a little, you know, offended, like a lot of you Israelites do. You get offended. You act like we owe you something. We don't owe you shit. So first, we will look at the word entitled, because a lot of you have an entitled spirit. You think that because you're an Israelite, we owe you the world. We're the ones that's the prophets. We don't owe you shit. We giving you the message. See, we supposed to come and give you the warnings that the Lord told us to give you. That's really our sole function, you know, to teach you, you know, about repentance or whatever. All this extra stuff we do, answering these questions and bending over backwards and helping you and teaching you how to study and doing all this stuff, that's all extra stuff. And you just don't get it. You act like we owe you that. We don't owe you that. But we return that in like manner as our elders and apostles, or our apostles and elders did with us. And we teach, you know, but we do all of that in the hopes that brothers will become teachers themselves, not just so you can ask us questions on the comment board and then turn around and start accusing us like we did something wrong to you and start using love like we don't love you because we rebuked you lightly. I wouldn't even call it a rebuke. I didn't even rebuke the guy. But anyway, the word entitled. I thought it would play.
Entitled.
All right, so it did play. It says believing oneself to be inherently deserving of privileges or social salakia. Believing oneself to be inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment. And see, we do these lessons and we break stuff down and you start acting like we owe you special privileges because you're an Israelite. But you get that from them other groups. You see? Now when you look at this word inherently, just real quick. Right? Define inherently.
Inherently.
It says in a permanent, essential, or characteristic way. So you believe that we owe you something, or it says believing oneself to be inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment. So you believe that you're born with that right. You inherited that right to get special treatment. And we don't give you special treatment. We still in the flesh ourselves. We trying to do what we can do. But if you're going to be an ungrateful, entitled, accusatory little demons, then you can just stop coming around us. Now here's the word ungrateful.
Ungrateful.
It says not feeling or showing gratitude, not pleasant or acceptable. Now what a lot of you do, you start lamenting and whining like you these victims, like somebody did something to you, because you know the question that was asked, it was you'll see the reason why. It was on such an elementary level for somebody who proclaimed they got this understanding. If you're gonna come to me and you're gonna ask me questions about prophecies and all of this, like you got knowledge, and then when I come down to your level, or if I say something, I can't respond in the way that I want to respond to you. I gotta come to you with kid gloves and shit. I thought we was men here. Anyway, you got those two definitions. Let's go now. I'm actually gonna close that. So before we read in the scriptures, let's go to his comment. All right, and this is from that dude Milo, which I wound up having to block the dude because he went, you know, you can make a few comments or whatever, but you need to learn that don't nobody want to go back and forth with somebody who didn't even know whether they should flee Babylon or not, and you're still trying to use the 400-year doctrine. Don't nobody want to go back and forth with you after we answer a question for you. You know, you can try to act like the victim all you want to. You ain't no victim. Anyway, he said, Shalom, thank you for your quick reply. After hearing your reply, I admit that I have questions about your motives. Wait, about my motives? I answered the question that you asked. You act like I found you someplace and then all of a sudden asked you if you had questions and started trying, you know what I mean? You got questions about my motives? My motives was to answer your question, man. You asked, and obviously you've been watching other groups because you didn't get no damn flee Babylon doctrine from GMS. You didn't get the 400-year doctrine from GMS. You should have went back to the people that you learned that from and asked them. You asked us because you thought we knew. So when we give you the answer, don't start acting like you are all extra sensitive, man. And acting like we're the ones that, you got questions about my motives. Yeah, okay. He says, after hearing your reply, I admit that I have questions about your motives. Are they to teach or find fault in any questions asked? Obviously, that's not it, because I could have just simply ignored your question. He says, I have only recently found this teaching and somewhat confused. I guess he meant confused about what I'm hearing. Well, if you're confused, how about closing your mouth and just keep watching videos and listening, and your answers will come. He says, I sought clarification from you and GMS The Basics, which is the elder brother Yakia from GMS Chicago. He says, is someone really trying to learn? Your harsh comebacks will only serve to drive those who could be saved away. Forgive me for having only recently come into this teaching. I must say I have gotten more out of YouTube than I got out of the church. Well, you see, so this individual, he likes to, be the victim. Then he want to give you a compliment. Then he go back and hide under a cloud of offendedness, right? All the while being a somewhat accusatory, but even ungrateful and entitled. That in itself is anger worthy. He says, forgive me for having only recently come into this truth. Then he said, my harsh comebacks. Yeah, like I talked about your mama or said something about you personally. When I talked about dumb Israelites, I wasn't even referring to that guy. When I only really addressed you personally it wasn't even personally. I only addressed you in the opening of the video. The whole rest of the video was just answering your question and bringing out scriptures. But let's go on. He says, I must say I have gotten more out of you too than I got out of the church. Also, I haven't had the time to go through all your videos at this time. Thank you so much for trying to drive me away with all your assumptions. And the only assumption you could assume, or you could say that I'm assuming, is that you've been watching other groups. And that's all I said. I didn't say nothing. I don't know you. I've never seen you a day in my life, Milo. Right? I've been in the truth now almost 15 years. I ain't never came across you before. The only Milo I know are Milo and Otis, Milo and Dinko D and Charlie Brown and Busta Rhymes, the leaders of the new school. Those are the only Milos I know. I don't know you. So I'm not personally here trying to hurt your feelings or do nothing to you. But if you people that watch GMS and that watch our channels know which teachers they go to. If you that sensitive and you need a certain kind of response, I'm probably the wrong one to come to, because I'm not an overly sensitive fellow. You know what I mean? And I don't deal with kid gloves. I just bring it out straight. No chaser. I tell you the brutal, honest truth the same way I would expect somebody to tell me. And when we ask our apostles and elders questions, they deal with us the same way. So I mean, if you can't handle it, man, you're probably in the wrong business, all right, or in the wrong arena for truth. You should go to the other Israelites who treat everybody like they the most valuable player of the world. We don't do that. You can get that participation trophy spirit from other Israelite groups, but we're not the ones. Too busy. Anyway, you can see his first response, right? And I was surprised by this brother that answered back. Just hold on here. There was a brother that answered back. Now, learn or burn Nasak. He replied to this guy. He's seen his comment and he replied to it. He says, as a person who have been in your shoes before, you need to remove your emotion, and I guess he meant to say swallow the truth. Why are you offended? You asked the question and he gave you a 1-hour video. This is basic, bro. You should know you cannot escape the judgments of the Lord no matter where you go. All correction come of the Lord. And that's an excellent response. Excellent response. Now it's gonna be many offended, punk ass, weak, shallow, syrup in these bloodstream ass Israelites who feel the same way. You think we supposed to come on? Well, here you go, my brother. Since you asked the question, I'm so glad. I ain't glad you asked no question. You asked because I was glad to give you the answers. But sometimes these questions that you ask, you could, if you just went through the videos, I done covered this 400-year doctrine, false doctrine, and the flee Babylon doctrine more than once, more than twice on my videos. So you could have easily found that. But it's all good. This brother had an excellent response though. And he told you, I gave you an hour video through the Spirit because I knew that others could be edified from it. And then he left the word Proverbs 3:12. For whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father the son in whom he delighteth. Right. And the brother was right on point. Because when you come to us and ask us questions, you should be thankful for the response that you get. And you asked that question yesterday, and I went right and did the live stream like after work. I got on it right away. Sometimes I delay when people ask me questions, but you asked, and out of a good, in a teaching way, out of a good intentions, teaching wise, I answered your questions over and above. All right. And we had a good time doing that live stream, but you turned it into something else, like a personal attack. And it wasn't even that. But the water to this brother, learn or burn in the sock. Excellent response, and even scripture, and he even offered you some insight. All correction come of the Lord. If I said that to you, that's because the Most High wanted you to know. So pardon that brief interruption. I wanted to continue on reading the comments. So we had just read that Learn or Burn had responded to this guy Milo. Now Milo had said in another comment, I thought I had it snapshotted, but unfortunately I didn't. But he did say he wasn't insulted, that he was learning. So Milo responded back to Learn or Burn and said, did you not read? I'm not insulted, I'm learning. And the brother Learn or Burn came back and said, yeah, but I also did read, quote, thank you so much for trying to drive me away with all your assumptions, end quote. Which sounded like you was offended, but forget I said anything, bro. Shalom. By the way, insult and offend means two different things, but he was absolutely correct. You see? So what happens is when Jake, this dude was kind of like double-minded. He's saying on the one hand, thank you for answering, but you getting on me. Then he said, well, I'm, sorry on the other hand. I mean, it is what it is, man. Ain't nobody worried about it. It's just a reason to go into another lesson. I did want to show you another comment. So he came back later. Just hold on here. I actually answered back. I can't find it now. Yeah, so after Learn or Burn said that, I came back after I saw the comments. I came back to the brother Learn or Burn. I said he is hella emotional and still doesn't understand that if a person is of the elect, nothing can change that, because he tried to say that I could drive somebody away that's potentially of the elect, and that's just not true. And I said right here, meaning no one can drive you away. John 10:29, my Father which gave them me is greater than all, and no man is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand. Right. And that's the elect. And when you come and you ask questions to men that you believe have the answers, you come as a student. You don't come as somebody who thinking that you know something, that you up on the level. You know what I mean? Like you gonna trade, go back and forth with us, because as you gonna see, Milo came back. He says, brother, I get it. If the purpose is to make disciples of the uninformed elect, even the least of them, how do you know when answering someone that he may be of the elect? See, there's another question. You see, all Israelites in our minds are potentially of the elect. We answer your questions because that's what the Lord told us to feed the sheep. But if you're gonna be an asshole about it, you're gonna be a jerk, then we ain't gonna deal with you. And the purpose is not we know that every Israelite is not gonna be a disciple. A disciple is different than somebody just in the congregation. All Israelites weren't disciples of Yahushua. The disciples were with him when Yahushua taught. Right? He said he taught in parables. But then with his disciples, he revealed unto them the secret of his parables. Okay? So that's not the purpose that we teaching them, to make disciples of the uninformed, like what you're saying. Now we know that certain brothers are going to come into the faith and they're going to become disciples, right, of Yahushua. But you also have the Israelites just part of the congregation. So We put the word out there. We throw it out there. We the Lord said he made us to be fishers of men. So we fishing. Some gonna be offended and they're gonna fall away. Others gonna say this is too much. I can't take it, whatever. But even inside of this is an accusation. If you look close enough, he says, if the purpose is to make disciples of the uninformed elect, even the least of them, how do you know when answering someone that he may be of the elect? Well, we don't know. He says, I believe we all have a starting because Yahweh preordained this time to be my awakening. I can't be stopped because your awakening came before mine. I'm still learning. Please forgive me. Now you want forgiveness. Well, which is it? You want to talk shit? You want to be forgiven? You want to be a student? Because a student, if you came and you asked a question of somebody you respect, even if the answer came back harsh, you ain't going to talk shit. You're not going to throw a little side, throw a little shade on the low and then jump back and say, forgive me because I'm new. You done went over the line. But let's go on. But even at this point, I have not yet got so mad. I just said, dude is emotional. I didn't even block him. I just let it go on. He says, please forgive me. Thank you for your patience and understanding Hebrews 13, 1 through 3. So let's go to Hebrews 13 and 1 through 3 and see what it says. Because see, now Jake's starting with the brotherly love bullshit. And don't get me wrong, brotherly love is not bullshit. But when Jake, you do shit, you step across the line, and then you want to holler out, when your brother, you're supposed to love me. Wait a minute, you're going to be a jerk. You're going to get expelled from the classroom. This is Hebrews 13 and 1. Let brotherly love continue. And we do that. Why you think I did a hour-long live stream in response to questions that you asked? You do get that, right? I was about to say, do you understand that? Verse 2 says, be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Are you trying to say you're an angel? Because you are a stranger, but are you saying you're an angel? And I don't have to be, I don't have to be mindful of that because I answered your question. I was very brotherly. Remember them that are in bonds as bound with them, and them which suffer adversity as being yourselves also in the body. And Jake just be posting scriptures. You don't really be knowing what they mean. A lot of times you just be posting stuff, trying to be deep. But see, that's the thing that pisses brothers off. Don't do that. And then he came back with an additional, just don't forget to love your brothers who may be of the same elect you are of. See, now you went from somebody who didn't have the understanding. You didn't even know what about the Flee Babylon doctrine, and you was going after the 400-year doctrine. And then when you got corrected on it, you didn't like my method of teaching. So then you railed and you hurled accusations, and then you tried to hide under your umbrella of brotherly love. Now you apologize. Now you're trying to warn me. See, it's all that entitlement and that insincerity, right? And I forgot the other word I used, the entitled, ungrateful. You're ungrateful in all of this. Just don't forget to love your brothers who may be of the same elect you are of. Well, I did forget. That's all. 1 Corinthians 13 and 3, Shalom. Okay, so he throws another scripture at me. Like, that's the thing with Jake. Jake will act like they cutting you. How the hell you gonna be cutting me? Just a minute ago you asking me questions, trying to act like, now you're trying to act like you deep. And forgive me here. 1 Corinthians 13 and 3. That's what it is. Let's go there. 1 Corinthians. I tell you, boy, Jake is some characters. 1 Corinthians 13 and 3. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. So then he threw that my way. You saying I don't have charity? Well, wait a minute. I just did an hour-long live stream answering your damn questions, but I don't have charity. See, this is the shit that make us impatient with you, Jace, because you do a lot of little underhanded shit. But see, he learned these tactics from those other Israelites that I told you about. Because among GMS, you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't be sitting there acting like you're trying to cut, you're trying to cut one of us. But it's all good though. Now, this autocorrect did something. I said I've been to say Jakes right here. I've been to say a lot of you Jakes talk too much. Stop being so emotional. All Israelites are not brothers in the spirit. I don't owe you anything just because you are an Israelite. Romans 9 and 6. Not as though the word of the Most High had taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. What does it mean? Just because you are Israelite don't mean you're Israel of the Most High, that you're of the elect. And those who truly are our brothers, not just because you're on the comment board asking questions. I don't know who you are. Okay? You ain't in GMS. I ain't never seen you teach. I never seen you no videos. And I went to your page and it was empty. On the one hand, you saying you a student, you asking questions. On the other hand, now you this deep teacher, you trying to cut me, you trying to warn me about having brotherly love. You see? And that's the shit that's irritating. So after that, I just left it alone. But then he came back with another comment, and I didn't even snapshot. I just blocked him because I didn't feel like going back and forth with Jake no more. He posted the scripture, let us love oh no man anything but to love one another. So I just blocked him because I don't have time to fucking go back and forth with people who 1 minute are students and they don't know they right hand from a hole in the or their head from a hole in the ground, and then the next they're trying to cut you and tell you that you ain't showing brotherly love. So watch out there, brothers, for them little minor offenses, getting all emotional, getting offended. Okay, and I first want to start with Proverbs 18. See, once a guy get cut and they get offended, it doesn't matter what you do. And the scriptures tell us that. Proverbs 18 and 19. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. And the first thing that a lot of these Israelites do with their untitled, emotional, ungrateful selves, they start saying, it's something I did. See, he never once, he did say the water for the quick response, but he didn't say, okay, you answer my questions. I got the answers now. That should have been the main thing, that you got the answers. Because you asked about should we leave Babylon, right? And then he used a scripture that Israelites use with that 400-year doctrine. So when I taught the video, he could have said, hey, you gave me the answer. I got it. I understand it now. He didn't do none of that. He just said, thanks for the quick response. But then he immediately turned and started accusing me. And he said I had harsh comebacks and I'm trying to drive him away. And now also I don't have brotherly love. You see? You learned that shit from the other Israelite groups. That's why I said that. And then he said I made assumptions, which I didn't make assumptions. Because I know you didn't learn a 400-year doctrine from GMS, which is a false doctrine. And you didn't learn flee Babylon from GMS. And you also didn't learn to be overly emotional. You didn't get that from us. You got that from other people. So you crossed the line. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. And that's absolutely right. When Jake get offended, you can't hardly win him back. And he just kept posting scriptures because he was cut. He was cut by something, and he just kept posting scriptures even after I left it alone. 2 or 3 hours later, I see something pop up, and I go back to the comment board. This nigga left another scripture, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I just blocked him. And then I see Elder Malcolm did a response to the video I did. Right, and then the dude was on his comment board saying, "Oh, this video is full of information" or something like that. And I was just like, "Look," and I knew that. And the next thing you're gonna see him do, he probably will watch this video and he'll be on another GMS members video telling them I done something to him. Like you're reporting us. Well, hey, be my guest. NLT says an offended friend is harder to win back than a fortified city. Arguments separate friends like a gate locked with bars. And just be grateful, man. If somebody take their time out to answer a question for you, take it. Be grateful. Don't come back hurling, getting all emotional and accusing them of something, because it wasn't intended to hurt you. And even if there was another person on the comment board that would answer their question, they asked me something, and I kind of barked at them, and then I told them, I said, look, I bark, but I don't bite. And I told them then, you could have learned from that, but it's all good. NIV, a brother wronged is more unyielding than a fortified city. Disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel. Yeah. And I like the original way better. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. And when you go, the further you go along in the truth, you will realize, and the brother Learner Byrne told this individual that a lot of times when you get these little minor offenses and you get so emotional over it, that shit really just a stumbling block for you to get over. It make you trip. It wasn't put in there. It wasn't put in the way because of me, because I answered your questions. Matthew 18 and 7. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. And when you go into it and you look up the word offenses right here, it's the Greek scandalon. Let's look at it.
Strong's G 4625, scandalon. Scandalon.
Now he says scandalon, And what does it mean? It's right here. It says the movable stick or trigger of a trap stick. No, a trap, a snare, any impediment placed in the way causing one to stumble or fall. A stumbling block, occasion of stumbling, i.e. a rock which is a cause of stumbling. Look at this. Figurative applied to Yahushua HaMashiach, whose person and career was so contrary to the expectations of the Jews concerning the Messiah that they rejected him, and by their obstinacy made shipwreck of their salvation. Any person or thing by which one is entrapped, drawn into error or sin. So really it is a stumbling block. It ain't meant really just as merely like a regular word offense as you get offended by something. If you look at the alternate version, you can see that a little bit here. Let's go to a couple. NLT. What sorrow awaits the world because it tempts people to sin. Temptations are inevitable, but what sorrow awaits the person who does the tempting. I didn't do no tempting, and I wasn't the one that defenses came by. You just, you're overly emotional, and you got a little offended at my my candidness. Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to stumble. Such things must come, but woe to the person through whom they come. And I mean, we'll go to the CSB. Woe to the world because of offenses, for offenses will inevitably come. So people will get offended, but woe to that person by whom the offense comes. You can be offended because you're too damn sensitive. You have yet, and really, in reality, I don't mean to make a big deal of it. I just want you brothers and sisters to see the spirit and we see this more common or more often than not. Jake will get offended by the way that we answer a question because we didn't answer it pretty please with sugar on it. Like I said, I don't owe you shit, man. I really don't. We doing what the Lord told us to do. This is Matthew 11:6. It says, and blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. Plain. Luke 7:23. And blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. And many Israelites got offended at Yahushua by his manner, his tone. I don't know no other way to answer questions other than, I have a little bit of comedy, a little bit of levity, some seriousness. It ain't always like that, just some of the time. But I don't know no other way to be than brutally honest. If I do it other than that, I'm gonna be being fake, and I'm not gonna be fake. I just can't be fucking fake. And you asking questions that, like the brother told you, that's basic shit. You should have known better than trying to flee from the judgment of the Lord. You ain't gonna be able to get away. That's some basic shit. That's on you, man. But that again, it goes to, and you're watching them other groups. Matthew 24:10. I would dare say you were probably watching like GOCC or them Yah Israelites. Most One West group. No, I can't think of any One West group that teaches you need to flee. Sakari them don't even teach that. You need to flee. IUIC won't even teach that. ISUPK don't teach it. You got that shit from one of them candy ass Israelite groups. You trying to flee. You didn't even watch Ron Dalton. Matthew 24:10. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. This is one of the end time signs. And us, the brothers that's the prophets that teach, that go on the highways and hedges, we can be a little abrasive, but we ain't doing that shit out of no hatred. That's just look, we put up with a lot of shit, man. A lot of little simple ass jakes coming up asking us questions. Sometimes we can be a little abrasive, but we ain't doing that shit to hurt you. That ain't out of no hatred. That's just how it is. It's a rough, we're like we Great Millstone, damn it. We grind. This is what we do. You should have known that. And obviously you knew that you could get answers from coming to us. You can't find out about Great Millstone and answer your questions without knowing they're a little rough now. And that I didn't even get rough. I read this again, Matthew 24:10. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. There you go. And that's one of the end time signs. One of the things that you're going to see. Many going to be offended. A lot of people get offended. Even when Yahushua was on the scene. Let's see here. Does this. When Yahushua was on the scene, many people got offended at his doctrine, by the way he spoke, by his candidness, by his lack of, trying to win. He wasn't trying to win disciples. There was some, he appointed them. He wouldn't have chose them and handpicked his disciples. He didn't go out there and try to make a soft message to win over the crowds of people. He taught in parables so that they wouldn't even get it. So don't come to us with this bullshit. Like we gonna be these showmen. You used to the Israelites with the microphone that's trying to get people to listen because they want to get more followers. We don't give a fuck about no followers, man. We just doing what the Lord told us to do. Words to the disciples, John 6:59. These things said he in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum. Many therefore of his disciples, when they had heard this, said, this is an hard saying, who can hear it? When Yahushua knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said unto them, does this offend you? And they got offended at, he was saying you must eat his flesh and drink his blood. What if you shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before? But they just didn't understand it. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. But there are some of you that believe not. For Yahushua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not, and who should betray him. And he said, therefore said I unto you that no man can come unto me, except it were given unto him of my Father. So we know many people get offended because you just goddamn unbelievers. You don't like what we said. And most of the time with Jake and that 400-year doctrine, even when you explain it and you break it down, they don't like that answer. They like it better when they can say, well, see right here, this is proof that we the Israelites, because they looking for something tangible, something concrete they can point to. Believing what the scriptures say and knowing through faith that we are the Israelites. Even if you can't prove it to the rest of the people, you need something that people can look at and everybody will agree. Yep, you've been here 400 years. Y'all the Israelites. See that you need that. So therefore they're going to steal. He probably even still believes that. And I won't say that particular individual, but most of the time people, when you can't hardly get them off that 400-year doctrine because that's what they believe. That's what made them believe that they were the Israelites, because they can add and subtract 1619 to 2019. That's feasible to them. But just to believe it through faith is something different. And that also shows that the individuals are not born again. That's why they can't get it. You're not born again. That's why you got offended, because you're still in the flesh. You got offended and you acting entitled and you're ungrateful, because those are fleshly traits. You know how many brothers I done lightly rebuked over the years, and they said, you know what, brother, you was absolutely right. Even happened to us. We got rebuked and told about ourselves. We didn't say, well, you trying to drive me away. You need to learn how to be brother. You to love your brothers. We didn't say no shit like that. We said, damn, you know what? I must have said too much. I got to check myself. We didn't come back and point fingers and then continue to post scriptures like we cutting the apostles. We didn't do that shit. But whatever. I'm learning too, Jake. As you do these things and we show you these ways that Jake do that, we learning you too. Now, being offended can cause your ass to fall away. This right here is Matthew 13, and this is part of the parable of the sower, right? Matthew 13:18. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which receives seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed in the stony places, the same is he that heareth the word and anon with joy receiveth it, yet hath not rooted himself, but dureth for a while. And this is where this Jake is. He heard the word, he believing right now, right? It says, but he that receives seed in the stony places, the same as he that heareth the word and anon with joy receiveth it, yet hath not rooted himself. He doesn't have root, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended. You see? And he's in that dangerous place where you get offended and you might start not believing. And some of the persecution can just be merely from being got on. Because see, in the world, so-called blacks, particularly so-called black people, are not really held accountable that much. Black men, you have been held accountable. A lot of you was raised by your mamas and you weren't really held accountable. So when you come into the truth and men speak to you directly and it comes across as harsh, you get all emotional and shit. Yes, you saw it happen. You saw it. This is let's read another one. Just bear with me here while I go through these, because I did a word search in the world offended, on the word offended. This is Mark 4 and 16, it says, and these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, again, who when they have heard the word immediately receive it with gladness, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. And it could be like an affliction. To get got on, it don't feel good but I didn't really, like I said, I didn't really get on the guy. I just said, I compared him to some of the other dumb, some of the other Israelites who are dumb, who use the 400-year doctrine. And I believe that's probably what offended Jake. And he may even be one of them all black. You've been watching them Israelites who say all the Israelites are black people. That black demon is hard to get over, man. And Jake is, have a hard time. So that's pretty much it. That's all I'm going to read. I ain't going to read no more scriptures. That's it. Just guard yourselves from being offended. This has been Hebrew Israelites, ungrateful and entitled, or entitled and ungrateful. I can't remember exactly what order I put the words in, but learn from this, brothers out there. When you come and you ask questions on the comment board, right? Sometimes we might, come at you, or we might give you a little bit of heat back in return, but that ain't because we trying to be hateful. It's just the way you don't know what's going on with us. And brothers have all different lives, hell going on and all this. And then we got all these sheep asking us questions. Sometimes we can, we might bark a little bit, but ain't nobody, you ain't gonna die. Shit. So remember that. And be thankful when a brother take their time out to answer a question for you. Don't act like, don't be entitled or don't be ungrateful. Be grateful. All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Shalom.